What's up, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of Modern Hobbyist. Today I'm going to be talking about the enclosure that I built for my 3D printer and giving you some tips so you can make one just like it. Let's get started. Hey everybody, I'm Charlie with Modern Hobbyist. For Christmas this year, my wife got me an Anycubic i3 Mega 3D printer. I've had it for about a month now, and so far it's totally blown me away. The only downside I've noticed is that it can get kind of noisy while it's printing. The fans combined with the stepper motor drivers can add up to about 70 decibels, which is about the same as a loud conversation. Now my apartment is sort of strange in the fact that I have 16-foot ceilings, and the walls don't go all the way up to the ceilings. And this causes every single noise to bounce off the ceiling and down into the other rooms. So with that in mind, my number one priority was to get this printer silenced so that I could stand to print in my office while I'm watching a movie or something in the other room. Now, the most hands-off method for silencing a 3D printer is to wrap an enclosure around it. You can make enclosures out of anything from cardboard boxes to plastic totes to what I have built here, but each method comes with its strengths and drawbacks. If you're not afraid to tinker with your 3D printer, then the best method for silencing it that I've found is to replace the stepper motor drivers and the cooling fans with higher quality alternatives. I have actually implemented those updates, but I'm not going to talk about it in this video. In this video, I'm just going to cover the construction of the enclosure itself, but be sure to keep an eye out for future videos. Before we get into the construction, I want to talk about the pros and cons of putting your printer inside an enclosure. The first pro, and the primary reason I wanted to put my printer inside an enclosure, is that they do a great job of trapping sound in. In my construction, the hardboard alone did a great job of trapping the sound in, but adding the egg crate foam made for a truly soundproof enclosure. And not only does it do a great job of trapping the sound in, but it also does a great job of keeping dust and other contaminants out. This helps to ensure that the printer bed stays clean and the nozzle stays unclogged. The next pro, and I personally think this one's important, is that a well-built enclosure catches the eye and can look really good. And so if you're interested in making cool videos and time lapses of your printer like I am, then taking a little extra time to make your enclosure look good will be well worth the time spent. Anyways, last on our list of pros is that the enclosure does a great job of trapping heat in. With fairly insulated walls like mine, you end up trapping a lot of the heat from the hotbed and the hot end. This is great if you're printing with ABS, which pretty much requires a heated enclosure to turn out well. However, with a heated enclosure, you also run the risk of damaging your printer's electronics, namely the power supply. Power supplies are extremely vulnerable to heat, and you will drastically shorten the life of your power supply if you don't take precautions to keep it cool. Furthermore, materials like PLA are not big fans of heated enclosures. With such low glass transition temperatures, it doesn't take much to get those parts drooping or over extruding. But there are some steps you can take to bypass these issues, such as taking the power supply out of the enclosure and adding an exhaust fan to push some of that heat out. The last and potentially biggest risk of putting your printer inside an enclosure is it could increase the risk of fire damage. While enclosures won't necessarily make your printer more likely to catch fire, they are often made out of good fuel sources such as wood, MDF, and various plastics that will cause the damage to be greater in the event of a fire. The best way to avoid a printer fire is to ensure that all of your electronics are rated for the amount of current flowing through. If you find that you have wires or connectors being used beyond their current rating, it might be a good idea to install a MOSFET, which will reduce the amount of current flowing through them. With all that out of the way, if an enclosure still sounds like a good idea to you, then let's get into the details of the build. Like I already mentioned, I live in an apartment, so I don't have access to things like table saws or other power tools like that. So I had to design it to be constructible with the very limited set of tools that I have. I was able to build this entire enclosure with 2 clamps, a razor blade, an 18-volt cobalt drill, and various screws and drill bits. The main body of this enclosure is built from 2 IKEA lac tables, which cost about $10 each. They're lightweight, can be assembled in minutes, and they're often a staple of do-it-yourself 3D printing enclosures. The side panels are cut from 24 by 48 by 1/8 inch thick hardboard sheets I picked up at Home Depot for about $3 each. The front door is cut from an 18 inch by 24 inch by 2.5 millimeter thick sheet of optics acrylic I got for about $10 at Home Depot. I finished off the inside by lining it with some egg crate foam I got off Amazon. For 2 packs at about $10 each, it was definitely worth the investment to really clean the inside of the enclosure up. Now, to actually build this thing, I started off by printing the extensions for the legs to give the printer enough room inside the enclosure. The files I used gave a couple of millimeters of clearance on top of the printer, which is all I needed, but if you need a little bit more space, you can always feel free to adjust the files to your liking. The leg extensions that I used can be found linked in the description below. Now, while those are printing, you can go ahead and get started assembling the lack tables. Assembly is just a matter of screwing the 4 legs onto the tabletop with the double-sided screws that are provided. Once the tables are built, go ahead and attach the extensions to the legs and test the fit. If everything fits together to your satisfaction, then we can go ahead and start taking measurements for the back and side panels. I started by measuring the back panel and marking the dimensions on a sheet of hardboard. To cut it to size, I clamped it to my workbench and used a scrap piece of hardboard to function as a straight edge. I was then able to cut it with a razor blade while applying firm pressure with the other hand. With this method, I was able to get a clean cut in a matter of seconds, without any power tools. Once the cut is done, you can clean the edges up with sandpaper or the razor blade if you need. Now we can attach the back panels using a couple of screws, making sure that it's flush on all 4 sides. With the back panel attached, we can start taking measurements for the side panels, making sure to include the thickness of the back panel. Now we can mark those dimensions out on a hardboard sheet just like before and cut them with a razor blade and get working installing them on the enclosure. Once you've gotten all the hardboard panels installed, now might be a good time to drill any holes you want for cable feed-throughs or filament feed-throughs. Next up, I did my best to align the egg crate foam in an orientation that looks smooth. To cut it, I found that the razor blade did a fine job of cutting the foam straight. Now, the foam isn't always pre-cut in the most precise way, so it can be a little bit challenging to get it lined up in a good way. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. I found that you can waste a lot of time getting it to align perfectly, when usually it looks just fine from the outside of the enclosure. Once you've got the foam in an orientation that looks good to you, I found that some E6000 holds it down tight. With the foam installed, I was finally done moving around the top of the enclosure, so I started taking measurements for the acrylic door. Unlike the hardboard, I wanted the acrylic to mount inside the table to allow the hinges to mount flush with the legs. After getting the dimensions for the acrylic, I marked it with a dry erase marker and cut it the same way as the hardboard. After mounting it to my workbench and scoring it several times with a razor blade, it'll break evenly by applying some firm pressure to the free side of the sheet. The next step is to drill the holes for the handles and the hinges on the acrylic. For this, plastic bits are your best bet, but a metal bit will work just fine in a pinch. Oftentimes, wood bits will have too steep of a cutting edge, which will cause the acrylic to chip or break away rather than shaving it away. For the handle and the latch, I designed 2 small parts with circular slots in them for circular magnets to be glued into. Links to those parts can be found in the description. With the handles and screws attached to the door, it was time to mount the door in its place. Once you've got the hinges mounted to the leg of your table, it's time to match up the latch and the handle. To do this, I just magnetized the latch to the handle and swung the door closed, marking the place that it landed. With some measuring and a bit of luck, you should now have a door that swings open and latches closed. And that's it. That pretty much wraps up my enclosure build. If you followed along and built it the same way I did, you should end up with an enclosure that costs around 70 bucks. If the egg crate foam isn't an important part of your build, you can leave it out and cut that price down by almost 20 bucks. Now I've added a few electronics to my enclosure as well, such as LEDs, an exhaust fan, a Raspberry Pi with Octoprint installed, but I plan on covering those in a different video in more depth. If you're interested in building this enclosure for yourself, check the description for all the links to the products that I used. If you want to see how I set up my LEDs or created a sweet time lapse like this, then keep an eye out for my next video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions you want me to implement, and be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to see more awesome videos like this. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next time.